Hello and welcome everyone back to the penultimate round of the Moto America USA Superbike League on GP Bikes. Now, after a week off last week, we come to probably maybe one of the more weird tracks we've done this year, Pacific Raceways. Now, it is, as you'll see in a minute when we get into my qualifying lap, not your usual racetrack, and the GP Bikes version is a bit more shall we say, out there than the actual real track. I've seen and watched real life footage of this track and it doesn't seem as broken as the GP Bikes one, but whatever was going on with the GP Bikes one, it's a bit glitchy, a bit broken, and it even has a kind of a car park section towards the end. We'll get into that later. But penultimate round, I've yet to get a front row, I've yet to get a podium, and coming into the season I thought I'd definitely had a chance for fight for a few wins and definitely a few podiums, and by now definitely a front row, but it's just not gone my way. Far too many mistakes on my behalf. So with only 2 rounds left, I am still pretty eager to get that off my back and try and get my first podium at least, or even a front row. But with just the caliber of rider currently in this league is just outrageous. So even though I've shown good pace in lots of race weekends and I've made very small mistakes, it's just not been enough most weeks to beat the likes of the Italians. So as we jump over now to my qualifying lap, you can see now turn 1 is like a right hand kink into a weird, it's just the whole track is weird. This is my fastest lap session. We're currently in P3 on the grid, 2/10 off a 15.9 done by Dario Andreoni. So again, the fast guys are thereabouts as usual. And for the first time ever, I've set my fastest lap of the weekend in qualifying. So we're getting slightly better at this qualifying stuff. Usually I was way off. There's Reese to my left having a small mistake, slipping off. But you can see how weird and windy this opening sector is. And then you come through this sector here, you just pin it, go up through the gears. I believe this is Bunta, I want to say. I think that was Bunta, yeah. And now he gets out of the way. Now you go through the snake section here, you go left, right, left, right. The bike is so uneasy and wants to throw you off there. You just want to miss that curb right out to the white line, slightly over. The bike is protesting. Now this corner here, you might look like I missed the apex. If you go tight, there's a massive cliff edge kind of just curbing that throws you off. This is the car park section here. There's a chicane there, but we didn't decide to use it. And then you come through here, we get right close to the wall, up into 4th gear now. And this part of the track where I'd imagine I'd be the weakest. The Kawasaki is not the fastest bike in this mod. And the run to the line, we actually do a 16.01, which is my fastest lap ever around this track on this bike. So overall, brilliant qualifying for me. We finally get our first front row, and we come in just 0.8 off, which sounds a lot in a minute 15, minute 20 lap, but overall I was really happy with myself with that lap time because I went faster than I ever have. Biker, of course, still is my main championship rival, so I was 2 positions ahead of him. We had a much smaller lobby this week. 9 people shut up. I think the interest in the league is starting to dwindle, and also there's other leagues opening up. So we jump now to the start of the race, and my first front row of the season means nothing because there is only one bloody row. I actually started pissing myself laughing when I saw this because I was a job front row first time, and this is what I got greeted by. But nonetheless, I actually feel like this will benefit me, as I believe I'm really good at getting these launches. We get to jump on the biker, but he just seems to get a good run, and then we kind of just roll. Adriano cuts across in front, takes lead. I dives the inside of the biker, and I actually just about get the whole shot and lead out of turn 2, just ahead of the really quick Italian Dario Andreoni. Coming down into this typically tough turn 3, I go quite defensive, just want to park the bike. I do go quite wide. Thankfully it is a weird banked corner, so the camber really makes the bike hard to turn, which means it's quite hard just to turn underneath someone. So I kind of felt confident in my own ability that I could get to the front in the course of the first few corners. Biker having a crazy look into the snake section. If you go too wide in here, one of them is going to be on the ground. It's as simple as that. Thankfully he backs out. I do give him a little wave, and thankfully he decided to pull out of that move, because that would have been a helicopter crash. That would have been very, very dangerous. But we come in now to the car park section, as I've named it myself. There's cones everywhere, and unfortunately it looks like Luke Rock did not make the start. It looks like he had some sort of issue at the start, so he is pushing for a restart. Now, usually the lobbies aren't being, for whatever reason, these lobbies shouldn't have the voting system turned on this week. Again, with people missing stuff, the lobbies probably weren't set up exactly right, but there was given the opportunity for some people to be voting to do restart stuff. But these polls, I don't believe they ever should be on a league race. You shouldn't be allowing riders to make decisions while on track because they can be manipulated. So we lead the opening lap, our first lap of the season led, I do believe, and we're ahead of Biker in P2, so my nearest rival follow me behind in P2. Now the fast boys, Dario and Danny Savani, are in P3 and P4 at the moment, so we're not really out of the fog yet, so we still have really a lot of work to do if we're going to take our first podium or maybe even our first victory here. But currently we're leading, we've clear track in front, and again Luke Rock is looking to restart this. I was thinking at this point surely no one is going to do it because we're all in the race and we've kind of gone through the first lap, and if you're going to do a restart you do it in the first lap. It's kind of an unwritten rule, you could say. So at this point now I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get red flagged and get a restart, but there's always that bit of doubt in the back of your mind. I got a good run out of there. I was getting great run all weekend out of there, which would just kind of negate the difference in top end speed through here. And up to the line we come, we set a 17.4, so I was pretty happy with that. Down into turn 1, that is Biker behind going a touch deeper than me. I run deep mid corner, come back. Maybe even is Andriano. No, this is still Biker, and that is Dario Andriani, who does end up crashing out of the start of lap 3. One of the biggest and fastest riders in this race has just tipped off, and that has given me and Reese a small bit of an advantage. At this point now I felt brilliant. Just get my head down and start ticking the laps off, and let's see. Once again, Luke Rock asking for a restart. To this point now I was kind of getting sick of this notification, and I was really getting fed up with the kind of restart popping up on my screen every few minutes. And I do have chat turned off, so there's no way I can turn that off my screen. And wouldn't you know, they bloody restarted it. I went ballistic in the chat. I do edit out because I say a few not so nice words. The race gets restarted. I was absolutely fuming. I was so angry that I got even better start this time. Straight into turn 1, straight down to turn 2, and we're still leading. So a couple of the fast boys weren't having a good race, so they kind of voted yes to restart. Now again, this is why I'm not a favourite, because if you have a bad start and someone puts up a restart and you can have a poll to restart the race, you can just vote yes because, oh well, I've screwed up my start, I might as well. So I felt very hard done by, because me and Reese had gotten a great start. And just behind me here there is a contact between a couple of riders, and you'll see in a second a bike has gone over the edge and dropped down. As you can see, unfortunately it is Reese, and I thought he was on the bike. You can just see me slightly roll on my controller and stick right to the right side of the track. But it's even better start this race for me, so we've ended up even further ahead. And one of my main championship rival, Biker, is now on the ground and going to be seconds behind me. So again, back into the same kind of situation, leading with a couple of seconds. Just want to put some laps on the board and again try and get the rhythm going and just start to flow and release and show my pace. But already Danny is into P2, so probably the fastest man in this league is up into P2, which isn't great for the likes of me, but what can you do? You have to beat them on track. So at this point now I was fairly sure he would catch me, but I couldn't really do anything about it, so I just said screw this, just put in my own laps, focus on myself, hit my markers and start to take a few laps off. So I was fairly sure he would catch me across the line. It was just under a tenth of a second, so he's right on the back of me already. Also his Suzuki is pretty quick and slippery in a straight line, so I was expecting it wouldn't be too hard for him to overtake, but I knew in this section here it's pretty hard to overtake. There's not really any easy spots, and I know I'm not terrible out of the slow corners because Aki does actually put the power down quite well in some situations like this. So this moment in time now I was like, well, I was pretty comfortable in the lead. I didn't really have any pressure because I knew he was quicker, so I kind of was in my head, I was, yeah, there's no need to kind of push overly, extend myself. I can just ride my race. He will come past at some point. You just tuck in behind him and you go with him and see. These fast Italians are incredibly fast and have a much higher overall pace than me, but they do have the tendency of crashing. So my point of view here now, I was just focusing, keeping it rubber side down, getting it to the checkered flag and seeing what we could achieve. You can see again leaping out there, putting 0.6 over from this lap, so we have a nice gap, but he will start to eat into my gap as we come up to the line. A 17.2, so a pretty nice lap time for race pace. Being into 17s is where you're at in the race, really is a pretty good pace. And again, we stop it quite short into turn 1. And turn 2, he just comes back at us. But we slam the door shut. Don't give him an opportunity to come through. And again in here we go, just nicely defensive. He does have a look at the inside, but I'm brave enough just to kind of tip it in, knowing my own ability, knowing that I will get it stopped, having confidence. Again, you just see his name appear in the top of the screen, and he is really getting close now. He's really starting to put the pressure on. But again, we're just sticking to our plan. Our plan at the moment has gone brilliantly. We've got our first front row of the season, and now we've gotten a good start, and we got to go into the lead. We've got a clean start in 2 races, which we haven't had all year really, and now not having any kind of issues with the bike, everything's feeling good. So this is really kind of me showing off what I could have done a lot of times this year if I had the kind of machinery under me and maybe a few other things went my way. But at this point now, he, as you can see in the radar, is right there. So I do expect to move this lap to come into turn 1 or turn 2 at least. So we try and get a good run over here. We end up getting really close to the white line. You can hear him, he's right there. He's definitely going to be getting the slipstream. You'll see him closing on the radar. Look at that overspeed. He's a look into turn 2. But we are stronger on the brakes and we keep the position, but we use a lot of the track, go touch wide. I think he does the same. We cut back for a nice late apex, and again you see the big Savani on screen in my back of my picture. But once again, showing off that I'm pretty handy on the brakes, just keeping him behind me. He has a look again. Got a lot of positions here you cannot really overtake. Again, I do kind of make V's out of these corners, but you can see he can't really pass me. So we're doing the Davi mark, is just stopping it in front of him, not giving him anywhere to overtake me. So far it's been a faultless race for myself. Savani definitely has the pace. Big moment there, Kozaki shattering away as it does. We're on serious pace here, mid 17s still at this moment in time. We're on for personal best this lap round at the moment, but he's even closer this time. So now I'm thinking he's bound to pass me this lap. Go small but wide. You can see already he's pretty much on the back of me, so no matter what I do here, surely with the slipstream he will end up ahead of me. But come out of here even closer to the dirt this time. I think he even might have just kicked it up a bit. You can see already he's after getting the run on me, so we're going to just make it tight. We're making him go round the outside, but he ends up getting way back onto the line before the braking zone. We have a look into turn 1. We try to release the brake and just trail braking around, but he has got the move done as I expected. So we held him off for 5 laps. Pretty happy with that really, because his pace is just a bit better than mine, and I do believe that Jixer 1000 has a bit more top end. We make a first probably mistake the race, but you can cut it back for a late apex, so we don't really lose any time. So this is the first time all race really, or boat races, that we're actually behind anyone. You can see now we go for a lap and a half. He has pulled the pin and pulled away, so like I expected and like I predicted, Savani's crashed. His ultra pace once again coming back to bite him, probably not needing to push that hard when he had the pace over me, but touched maybe a curb, or you can even have a small crash there without making a mistake in that corner. But that puts us back into the lead, and I believe Bunta is into P2 now, so that looks like Danny is down to P3 as of right now. So at this point in time in this race, I wasn't really kind of processing that he'd crashed. There was more thinking that as a grant, well, it does not affect my race pace or my race kind of plan. At this point I was just thinking, hit my markers, hit everything, hit my apexes and get it to line. Again, I was still on for my first podium, which was the goal, so the race win in my head was still a long way away. We're only on lap 7 of 16, so it's so much work to do from here to even think of a race win. Bunta, who showed great pace in the race, he didn't really have it over the one lap, but seems to somehow found some pace as he does, so he's sticking with us, only 5 seconds back, so he's not a million miles out of it. I can't afford to crash like Savani did, but Savani is only 7.5 seconds back, so to me he'll go into kind of qualifying mode now, probably brush Bunta past pretty handily, and then he'll be back onto the back of me pretty shortly. So for me now, at this point, I kind of again accept it as like he's going to catch me again. I don't really have anything that I can do. I don't need to start overriding and pushing 110% each lap, and that is what I didn't do. I just kind of kept to my mark. You can see again, last lap 17.5 on lap 9, so we're kind of just ticking off the boxes, doing everything, and we see a green flag. He's crashed again. So he'd gotten past Bunta up into P2, started pulling me in. I think the gap took down to about 4 seconds, and it looks like he's crashed in the same spot. So now the gap goes back up to about 12 seconds with just under 7 laps to go. So at this point now I felt like this was my race to lose. And you can see here, I'm looking at the timing screens on the map. I end up going on the grass. Just a small lapse in concentration. Just kind of doing the maths at high speed. It's incredibly dangerous, but as we come across the line to start lap 10, the race is ours really without any mistakes. We have the pace over Bunta. You can see it's about 5 seconds, so we pulled the pin early and we've managed to stay ahead of him. It's 11.5 seconds back now to Danny in P3. So for now, we're going to just again once get into a rhythm and see can we keep this run going. And thankfully, as we jump forward to lap 15, it's Bunta and Luke Hardrock. So I believe Savani, I don't know if he disconnected purposely or had connection issues, but he is not in the race anymore. I do believe he crashed once again and then had some connectivity issues, so I don't know if it was a quit or if he just had some issues with his internet or whatever. But at this point, it's almost 11 seconds back to Bunta in P2. We're coming around out to start the last lap. It's been a faultless race by me. I've dropped my pace now down to kind of low 18s. I just didn't need to start pushing that hard, so we've done a pretty much faultless weekend, our fastest lap in the race weekend. And now it looks like the race is going to be ours if we can just get one more lap to go. Tyres feeling good, bike feeling good. Penultimate lap is 17.6, so again, that is pretty nice. You can see coming into turn 2, just coasting it in, not really risking anything. We just want to bring this home. And the battle for P3 is between Luke Hydrock and Biker. Unfortunately, it's about 8 seconds between Biker and Luke Hydrock, so it doesn't look like Reese is going to be joining me on the podium today, but it's a sad thing because he actually gets punted off in this corner. That's how he ends up going over the berm. I did see footage from him. It was actually the guy who's battling for P3. Luke Hydrock makes a mistake in there and just collects him and sends him out wide. And then I believe Andrioni maybe crashes in front of him, and it's just a whole mess and he gets forced off the edge of the cliff. So Reese had good pace here and definitely had a good race bike underneath him. Thankfully, the back marker that we were catching at a rapid rate so not actually falls off in the same spot Savani had done, so we could breeze past, no sweat. Into the car park section we come for the final time. Can't believe we're going to do it. We're going to get our first victory for Kawasaki, Team Kawasaki. There's been many times throughout this championship I really wish I hadn't picked Kawasaki, but we stayed truthful and we stayed loyal to the green machine, and we're going to get our first victory. You can see at this point now it's sinking in, waving hands, one little chicane to negotiate, 175 miles an hour through the chicane and across the line for P1. So as you can see on screen, I get my first victory and I get my first little render for my race victory. Bunta comes home with a brilliant P2. He did a brilliant race, the Japanese. Luke Hydrock, the only Italian on the podium probably for the first time this year, finishing off in P3. We gain a nice few points in him in the championship, but I don't know if it'll be enough to get into the top 2 in the championship. Reese comes home in P4. Again, he had some misfortune early on and then probably overrode for most of the race. Daniel Sinatro was a lap down. Savini, Alex Noguera, Tony Essi and Daria Andriano all did not finish, unfortunately. So a bit of a unusual race weekend. This one compared to the other ones wasn't as many people, but usually all the fast guys were there, so I'll merit this race when it was still brilliant for me. And it is our first podium, our first front row and our first race victory all in the one weekend. Now the championship standings, and now it is confirmed Daniel Savani is champion of the USA Superbikes League. 27 points remaining with 1 round to go means the championship is mathematically out of reach for Luke Hydrock. I am now in P3, only 4 points behind Luke Hydrock, so I could still get P2 in this championship if things go my way in Pittsburgh in the final race of the season. Biker in P4, running off a very, very solid season overall for him. He still has the opportunity to get ahead of me, and I definitely have to be careful coming into the last round that I don't slip up and give away at least P3. Dario Andriani drops to P5 and Azul Yellow P6. Bunta with another solid ride puts himself in P7. Alex Noguera in P8 and Manu rounding out the top 9. So then that will be it for today's round 7 of 8 of the USA Superbike League. We finally get our first victory. We get pretty much everything we could have wanted in that race weekend. We probably didn't get the fastest lap in the race, that was it. We got our front row, we got our whole shot in both races, and we got our first race win and podium. All came together. Brilliant weekend for me. Again, wasn't a brilliant track for me. I didn't feel amazing there compared to anywhere else, but I think it's just one of those weird and wonderful weekends we just have to take take stock and just take your opportunity when it came, and thankfully we took it with both hands and we ended up getting a brilliant result and finally get our hands on a podium trophy, and it did really, really well for my championship standings. But I am going to end it there. We have one race remaining. I hope you will join me in a week's time for the Pittsburgh highlights. I really am looking forward to Pittsburgh. It is a technical track, a track that probably suits me a bit more than the tracks like this and maybe some of the previous ones. So I look for a strong result to end off what has been a good season aboard my ZX10. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you did enjoy today's video, drop a like down below, subscribe to see more. I shall catch you all in the not so distant future. Thank you for watching. See you soon.